Good morning, Southwest Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce. We are so glad you all are here. I want to have everyone with me say ho, 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 because we do have Santa here, and we want him to know that we are in the festive spirit. So 1, 2, 3, ho, ho, ho. Santa, was it good enough? Merry Christmas. We are so glad to see everybody here. I do know that it's a very important weekend. We do have a little football game coming up. We have tons of things that we're going to get to here in a second, but you know me. Before we get started with anything, we have to quiz you on how much you know about the cities that we represent, which are Norcross, Peachtree Corners, and Berkeley Lake, right? Okay, so question number 1. This is really hard. What are the formal boundary land and water sizes for Berkeley Lake? 2.2 miles, water 0.11 miles, 3.2 square miles, which one? The answer is A. Who said A? Okay, Mr. Chuck Berry. Chuck Paul. Uh-huh. Okay, you get to choose your candy. Choose your candy. Question number 2. What was the name of the historic cemetery in Peachtree Corners that is the resting place for multiple Native American burial sites and 32 Confederate soldiers, as well as many settlers? Okay, I heard it over here. All right. Her hand up proudly. Terry Hoy has it. It is Mount Carmel.
Oh, man.
Mount Carmel. See, you all are learning something every month. Okay, going on.
Good choice.
All right. In its history, what was Norcross famous for?
Railroad stop.
I want to know what Craig Newton says. Okay, this is where I am challenging you a little bit. Mayor got it. The mayor got it. It is all 3 things. See, okay, education, you have to think outside of the box, gang. Outside of the box. It wasn't one of the things. It was all 3. So just to, throw you off a little bit. Okay, moving along, we are going to ask Dr. Charles Hawk to come up and offer our invocation, please.
Thank you, Margie. May we bow our heads. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, God who has brought us thus far on the way, we lift our heads up to you and we praise your name on this first Friday breakfast. And we also are so thankful to see our brother Bill Brown with us today, also known as Santa Claus. Be sure to bless the words of our speaker today and open our hearts so that we will receive Brother Hill's words and that spirit, dear Lord. These things we ask in God's name. Amen.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Charles. All right. Do we have any Marines here? No Marines. Okay.
Lost en route in traffic.
We are going to move on then. Let's just move to the next. Yeah. Okay. So I do want to welcome visitors. Do we have any visitors? I know that I met Kelly. Would you stand, please? I'm sorry, I got you right in the middle. Any other visitors today? Please stand. Say your name, please.
Ronaldo, Joe Bella, Dan Case, Ray Johnson.
All right, thank you for being here, visitors. It's always great. Okay, members, you all now are so notified. You must go up and at least introduce yourself to all of them by the end of the meeting. Okay, we also are very happy to have some elected officials here today. We have 2 mayors. We have Mayor Craig Newton. Craig, would you please stand up, please, so that everyone can see? Thank you for being here, Mayor. And we also have our wonderful Mayor Lois Salter from Berkeley Lake. Thank you for being here, Lois. Always good to see. We also have City Councilwoman Lori Christopher. So Lori, if you'll stand. And then we also have Ware Gratwick, our infamous Ware Gratwick, who won't stand. Okay, thank you all for being here. We also want to make sure that you all know how important sponsorship is for this chamber to survive. We are so grateful for Georgia Swarm and Gwinnett Stripers, who are part of our chairman's circle. We also have our President's Council with Atlanta Tech Park, City of Peachtree Corners, Norcross Cluster Schools, Hargrave Fiber, Bright Tree, and Georgia Center for Opportunity. If any of you are interested in upping your level and becoming part of this, we'd love to have that. We also have our executive members, which are listed on 2 slides, which we're thrilled to have. We also have some new members that are here. And so today we are actually going to have Corners Fine Spirits to be able to share a little bit about their business. And I am excited because it's the holiday season.
And we have Gerald Davidson with us.
That's right. And I mean, what better way to get to know you than to go shop for the holidays, right?
I don't need to say anything else. Good morning, everybody. My name is Gerald Davidson, and my wife, Virginia, and I lived in Neely Farm in Peachtree Corners for right at 30 years. So the idea to open a fine wine and spirit store here was a fun adventure that my wife thought up back in 2012 when the city was incorporating. We had an interest in a store up in Dawson County, but it didn't have the demographics it's got down here. So she said, hey, we've had fun with that, let's do it here. So in 2012 we started, and it was an 8-year struggle, but here we are. But what I mainly do is practice law. I've done that 46 years in Lawrenceville and seen a lot change in the county. And this man to my left, who was chairman of the commission for many years, he and I butted heads, and we worked together because our firm does a lot of land use planning and represented developers. And so I was in front of him on a lot of Tuesday nights over the years. But I can tell you that Chairman Hill and his board were great for Gwinnett County. I mean, Tommy, Patty, Kevin, Judy, Bert and Sudi, that crowd did a hell of a job steering this county in the right direction, and we owe a lot to Wayne Hill. Let me introduce my partners in the store. Stu Cross is here. Stu and I live in the same subdivision. Our daughters grew up together. We've been friends for 30 years probably. Stu is a very distinguished retired executive of Coca-Cola. He was president of the Brazilian division, president of the Caribbean division, director of worldwide sports marketing for Coca-Cola. What a job if you didn't mind the travel. But his business acumen and marketing skills are great for the store. And Libby Curry is right here. Libby she and her husband John lived in Neely Farm for many years, so this is kind of a Neely Farm get-together. Unfortunately, John passed away April of 2020, and if you come to our store, you'll see a plaque on the outside that honors John for his heart and soul work to help us get our store open. And Libby and John had a company called JDC Marketing, was located here in Peachtree Corners, and she brings a lot of marketing skills to the table for us also. Our general manager is Rob Ramos. Rob is here. Rob's doing we interviewed him at J. Alexander's one night, and me and John and Stu, and Rob wasn't out the front door, and I said, boys, we got our man. He's got 25 plus years in the business, and he impressed us, and we're just thrilled to have him. As I said, it took 8 years to do this. When we first thought about this, we had to get a petition signed by over 7,000 people in the city to put a referendum on a call for the council. So that took a while. We did that. Then we went through, site selection, zoning, the ordinance, the referendum itself. And anyway, I kind of feel like Orrin Swift, who's a great winemaker, who had a covenant not to compete when he sold his company, Prisoner. And he had 8 years, and his first wine he made when he came out and could compete now was 8 years in the desert. So we were kind of 8 years in the desert for a while. But we have some great partners that we worked with. Working with the city was good. Lori Ware, their folks were good to work with. Tandem Bank, Mr. Ware is one of our certainly important financial partners. And somebody said, it's kind of early for you to be here. I said, hell, I owe him $5 million. I got to go. But, and then Racetrack, is right across the street, and they're the ones who technically developed that site. But you want me to shut up? Okay, all right. Anyway, I don't know if y'all know where we are. We're at Engineering Drive and Peachtree Parkway. It's we think a nice store. It's 10,000 square feet. There you go. With another 2,000 of storage upstairs. We got a great selection of anything you want. Got a really nice wine cellar for all the good stuff, probably 5,000 square feet of liquor and spirits, and about 4,500 square feet of wine. So we've got a good selection, got a loyalty program. Check us out on social media. Instagram, AT Corners A-T-L. Thank you. Appreciate all of you who are shot, and hope the rest of you will.
Dance. Okay. Thank you so much. So I have a question. Oaky Chardonnay? Oaky? Oaky Chardonnay? Okay, we'll talk later. Just curious. Okay, so everyone, we have amazing things going on in December in our cities. And so I want you, if you have a camera, get out your camera, take a picture of this, because when somebody says to you, what's going on this weekend, you're going to be the one in the know, because you're going to know everything that's happening. Look at this. We've got carriage rides in downtown Norcross. I've done that. That is absolutely one of the most wonderful things. It's so festive, all the lights, it's beautiful. Tree lighting in Thrasher Park, historic downtown Norcross Christmas Village and the Seasons of the Style. We also have Holiday Glow. That's tonight. These are two things tonight. Oh, wow. Okay, and then we do have like that little football game going on tomorrow that's going to be shown in Peachtree Corners, basically screen on the green, the SEC Championship. Show of hands. UGA? Okay, all right. That other school? Okay, all right. Nothing like great competition. Who doesn't love the SEC, right? Everybody loves the SEC. So, in moving along, I do see that we have coffee connections that I want you all to know about. Of course, we won't have it on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, but this is a free event located right here, and we network and get to know each other, and it's just a very casual, wonderful group. So please make sure that you come next week. It's basically every Friday except First Friday. See how that works out? Now, I couldn't be more excited for this next part, because we have worked years for Toys for Tots as a chamber. And it has been because of Santa, who is located over here to my right. And he has been the one spurring us on for years and years and years. And we have a check for Toys for Tots that we would like to present. We also have our distinguished Marines to be here to accept. And so as soon as we can get the Marines to come on up. And Santa, then we have the presentation. Would you all like to share a little bit about Toys for Tots?
Yes, ma'am. I don't mind at all. Hey, good morning, everyone. How are you doing? So a little bit of information about Toys for Tots. It was started in 1946 by retired Major Bill Hendricks and his wife, mostly his wife. Yeah. I always like to include that part because she did a lot of work. His idea, really her work. But the first drive collected 5,000 toys, and now today, just in the Atlanta area, we distribute over 700,000 on average. So it's grown to a pretty large number, and really, it just keeps growing. So it's an amazing thing to see. I think we assisted over 330,000 children. So yeah, a very large number. And that's, again, just in the Atlanta area. So another thing is we enjoy coming out to these events. If ever you all feel like we don't, we do. We actually do really love it. And I'm glad that I can be here today, and I'm glad that I can participate in your guys' event as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And then Santa. Santa, would you like to say a few words about Toys for Tots and the work we've done?
Toys for Tots has been the premier organization for getting toys for underprivileged kids and kids in need. They have been around since right after World War II, and it was the dream of an officer in the Marine Corps, obviously, to put this out into the public space. And over the years, they have raised millions of toys. Last year was a little bit of a challenge. This year will be another challenge, but we appreciate all of your help, and it makes Santa's work a lot easier. So, and I would be remiss if I did not go, ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
So, if you all want to hold that. So, because at the Southwest Gwinnett Chamber, we have accountants and bankers who are our treasurers, then we go down to the very last cent of what we give. So, we are at $8,173.46. Thank you, Marines, for all that you do for our country. We appreciate it. Yes.
I have one saved round.
You what?
I have something to present to you guys. You do? It's a saying we have.
It's what?
A saying we have. One saved round.
One safe round.
You know, because when you do a range, you finish the range. Sometimes you don't show all your bullets because you missed the mark, and then you have.
You don't.
I say no, I don't.
You've never.
See, rifle expert.
Don't mess with this guy.
Yeah. I'm gonna hand that to you, LaJuan. Thank you. So I just have a certificate to present to you all, something you can frame, something, it's kind of falling out, but something you can frame, something I guess you can represent for your participation in Toys for Tots. And it's not much, but it's, I guess, our way of saying thank you to you all and making sure that everybody else knows, about all your hard work. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Santa, Bill Brown. This chamber wouldn't be here without all of your efforts. You have been the foundation that we've built the chamber, and I thank you so much for not only your work with Toys for Tots, but for everything that you have done for our chamber, especially on the marketing side, which this man, we have greatly missed him, but we are so, so, so glad to have you here today. Okay. Thank you. You're good. Thank you. You're good.
I will say that one of the things I like about Toys for Tots is the pass-through. Almost 100% of the proceeds that are raised go for distribution of the toys and to buy toys. I have yet to be invited to participate, but I do know that they do an annual toy buying spree at some of the larger markets, and I'm looking forward to maybe next year participating and helping to choose some of the toys that pass along to the Tots. I know that I've spoken with a lot of you, and you really get a lot of joy out of going, and even though you don't maybe have kids or of your own or grandkids, but it's a way of participating and sharing in the season. So keep it up.
And we will. And we will. Thank you all. Thank you all. Very much appreciated. Thank you. And with that, we're going to move on to our special speaker. And I have someone special to introduce. So, Elsie? Yes, yes. Wherever you want.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. This person does not need an introduction. I noticed the movement within the room, and people knew him, and he knew them, so I don't really need to do a lot, but I'm just going to say a few things about him, a few kind words. Wayne was born and raised in Sugar Hill, Gwinnett. He was educated in the Gwinnett County school system. Wayne and his wife Carolyn married in 1961. The Hills reside in Swanee, Georgia, where they raise 3 children who continues to live and work in Gwinnett. Wayne and Carolyn have 9 grandchildren and 12 great-grandchildren. All of the Hill children and grandchildren were educated in the Gwinnett County school system. So without further ado, I'm going to present to you Mr. Wayne Hill, 12 years of Gwinnett's CEO that made things happen. Some things did not happen, but things are moving forward, and let's give him a big round of applause.
Can you hear me?
There you go. Am I on now? All right. When Gerald was talking, that was the reason we had a 10-minute limit on the zoning cases. We had to pull the hook there. He'd have talked all night on a zoning case. So that was reminiscent of things in the past. Yeah, we didn't know.
Good morning, sir.
Hey, Wendy. How are you?
I'm great. It's so good to see you this morning. And I just want to share that I had what I thought was a fantastic idea to invite Elliot Brack, a former editor and publisher of the Gwinnett section of the AJC and Gwinnett Forum editor and publisher, to be the moderator today. And unfortunately, as you can see, Elliot is not here. Elliot is not feeling well, and so I have the blessing, which was unexpected, to get to talk to Wayne. And just to personally share real quick, I moved to Gwinnett County in 1995, and my first job in Gwinnett was with the Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce. I was in my early 20s, and I had the pleasure of meeting Wayne then, and have considered him a friend all these years, and certainly back then did not think that I would have the opportunity to sit here with him after all of his years of service and all that he's done for the county, so I'm thrilled. So welcome everybody again. So many things to talk about. Let's start with all the county changes in your 60 years as a resident. Aside from the population, what has most profoundly inspired or impacted business growth here?
Well, you say 60 years. I've been here almost 80 now, so I've seen all the change that happened in Gwinnett County. When I graduated from high school, there were 42,000 people in the whole county. And today, there's probably 1 million people. So have I seen a change? Definitely. I watched them build Lake Lanier. We didn't have a Lake Lanier. The only 4-lane road that I knew about was we'd go down to see the Atlanta Crackers play ball, and the first 4-lane I saw, not in Gwinnett, but the first 4-lane I saw started at Cheshire Bridge Road and went on into Atlanta. So you can see what kind of change we had in the whole region. Now, I've been blessed to live through a lot of ups and downs with the county. And when I look back, and you talk about what happened during my 12 years, I had a great board, as Gerald said. I had a great board that worked together, and there probably has not been and won't be another time when so much got done as we got done in the 12 years in office. Now, am I proud of that? Certainly. But I can tell you I didn't do it by myself. Anytime you see somebody getting great things done, you got to know that you got good people around you. You probably got good people that's smarter than you are, and then you listen to them. Charlotte used to tell me I listened most of the time. Didn't listen all the time, but sometimes we screwed things up. We'd come back and fix it. But I'm very proud of my time in Gwinnett. I'm very proud of the things that got accomplished. And I was thinking back when we were talking about Elliot, after Jim Still got sick. I don't know, any of you ever go on the bus tour? Yeah, I always enjoyed that, talk about the things that happened, and Elliot and I played off one another a lot, but a lot of good things happened. Hopefully there's going to be good things continue to happen in this county. We got to keep good people involved, and I appreciate you folks being here. When they said Elliot had sent a bunch of questions, I don't know what the next question's going to be. I told her earlier, I don't have to please anybody anymore. I'm not running for office again.
Wayne, what are some of the major initiatives that you're most proud of during your time in office?
Well, one of the things that everybody, I don't know, most of you or some of you may know that the F. Wayne Hill Water Resources Center up there is a wastewater plant named after me. And everybody expects me to say that's the most important thing. But there's two things that happened that I'm very, very proud of. One of them is the Environmental Center. How many of you have been to the Environmental Center? If you hadn't been, you need to go. Before COVID hit, we were bringing in 100,000 kids a year going through the program there and learning about the environment. The other thing is the role we played with the college, Georgia Gwinnett College. Never dreamed I'd get to do that. Those two things will go on forever. So those are two that's at the highlight of me.
What are the issues that you see today that most affect citizens in Gwinnett County?
Well, I think traffic is the biggest thing. And I don't know how you solve it. I asked someone yesterday, what's the last new road you know that's been built in the metro Atlanta region? Not improved, the last new road in the whole region. Sugarloaf. There's not been another road, a brand new road built since then. We've got to find some way to build some more roads. And there's a study going on now on Interstate 85, and you can help some, but we're never going to solve traffic. And, as more people move here, it's only going to get worse. I live in Swanee. I still live on a pretty good-sized piece of land, but some days I can't get out of my driveway. They had to let me out this morning because of the kids going to North Gwinnett High School. It was backed up to nearly a mile going to school, so they finally let me out of my driveway. But traffic is the biggest thing I think that we're dealing with. The second one's going to be crime. We've got to keep a handle on crime, and hopefully we can do that. But, used to, we'd hear about the crime was somewhere else. It's not that way anymore. It's in Gwinnett County. So I think those two things are the biggest issues that I see that we face.
So, Wayne, as we sit here this morning having a fireside chat to kick off the holidays in December, in the spirit of Charles Dickens, in your time as commissioner, what was the biggest issue that you confronted? And were you more of a Jacob Marley, a Scrooge, or a Santa? And why?
You might ought to ask Gerald that question. He'd have an answer. I guess,
Tell the truth.
growing up, I was always conservative. I ran my own business a long time, so I guess I was a Scrooge. You know, I ran my cabinet company. My dad started a little company in 1958. I came right out of high school and went into it. We built custom cabinets until I moved to the county. I ran it for 32 years, so I had to be a Scrooge, I guess, sometimes, and a conservative. One of the things that I'm the most proud of is the 12 years I was in office, we cut taxes 11 out of those 12 years. You don't think about it much, but even $0.25 on a building like this makes a lot of difference. And so I guess I was a Scrooge in that respect. A lot of the employees at the county, you know, when you're in business for yourself, sometimes you do everything from cleaning the bathrooms on down. And a lot of the employees used to say, well, here comes the cabinet story again. And so I would try to tell them this money that you're dealing with, and my budget was $1.4 billion. The budget this year is a little over $2 billion. And I'd tell them that's somebody's money. That's my mama's money. And we got to protect it. And sometimes I think when we get into office, we forget that point. And so that was something that was always important to me. I felt everything that happened in Gwinnett County. If there was an accident somewhere, I felt it. I guess I put too much of myself into it when I look at the way some people run for office, but it was very important. And a lot of times, I told someone yesterday, a lot of the people that work for the county had grown up in Gwinnett County at that time. Now, a lot of them's left, but they'd grown up, and they knew about the county. And I'd get out in my car and ride. I'd go to the park and stop and talk to a guy cutting grass, or I'd stop and talk to a guy digging a ditch. And I found out more about the county and what was going on than I did from my department head sometimes. So that gave me an insight that maybe a lot of people don't get.
So Wayne, now that you're no longer commissioner, you have many stories that you couldn't previously tell. Give me one or two, particularly starting off with the Yellow River Post Office.
Yellow River Post Office. Does anybody know where the Yellow River Post Office is? All right, I see one. I didn't know we had one. I was told during the 1800s, the Confederate War, that was the end of the line. That's as far as the mail came. And I get a call one day, and somebody says, "Will you restore the Yellow River Post Office if they'll give it to you?" And I said, "Well, didn't know I had one, but talk to me." Anyway, there's about 7 acres there, and I said, "Yeah, I will." I rode out and looked at it, so went out and looked at it, and they made the donation, and the county took it over, and they're still working on that little park, I think, at this point in time. But we restored the old building. Years later, I found out that Scott Hudgens donated it. Now, I don't know how many of you know Scott, but Scott made an impact on this county that he never wanted his name out there much. But he always told me, he says, "Wayne, if you could do anything for children or old people, you pick up the phone, call me." And so when we were doing something, I could always count on money out of Scott Hudgens. So that's the way the Yellow River Post Office, if you hadn't seen it, you might want to go see it. There's an old mill, Alcovey Mill. Anybody ever seen the Alcovey Mill? Gerald has. We came by it one day, and I said, "What is that?" And it's close to where Charlotte lived over in there. And she says, "Well, that's the old Alcovey Mill. Churches used to baptize in the pond and all that stuff." And I said, "Well, why won't we preserve something like that? It's one of the last old buildings in the county." So we didn't know who owned it. We began to research it. Found out that a gentleman owned it and lived out in St. Simon's. He had owned it. There was 13 acres, and there was a cabin on it at one time. The cabin had burned, and his daughter had actually burned up in the cabin. So anyway, I got talking to him, and I said, "I'd like to preserve the mill." He said, "Well, that's all I want. I want it preserved." And I think he said, "I'll sell it to you for $275,000, but you've got to preserve it." The more we talked, he wound up, he was my father-in-law's doctor. And so we hit it off real good. We were able to buy that piece of property and preserve the old mill. So there's about 13-acre park down there off Alcovey Road. If you ever get the chance, go look at it. So we had several things like that. Another story I'll tell. I had, I'm sure most of you know Wayne Shackleford and knew who Wayne was. At one time, Mr. Shackleford was head of DOT. Of course, I was head of Gwinnett County, and then, of course, Wayne Mason was everywhere. And the paper kept calling it Wayne's World out here. So I come in one day, and my staff had a big sign on my office door, Wayne's World, welcome. So we laughed a lot about stuff like that. But Mr. Shackleford called me and said, I need for you to buy a piece of property. And I knew who owned it. It was Mr. Mason was part of it. I said, I don't want to buy it. He says, will you listen to me? And I said, I'll listen to you. He says, you want that interchange at Sugarloaf in 85? And I said, yes. He said, if you'll buy this piece of property, I'll make you whole. I said, what does make me whole mean? He said, it won't cost Gwinnett County one dime. And he and I both knew that one of the other commissioners had negotiated with the Eastern Airlines Pilots Association for a piece of property there at where Sugarloaf subdivision is today. And if we put in that interchange, it freed up, I want to say, like 75 acres of land that would come directly to the county. That's where the chamber building sits, and that's where the arena is. So a lot of times you have to hold your nose and vote for something you don't want to get what you want. But that's the way we wound up, by having the chamber building where it is, the arena where it is, and all the development that's going up there now. So a lot of times Mr. Shackleford would call and say, you know, we had our sales tax and still got the transportation sales tax. He'd say, I'll do this if you'll do that. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I'll put in 40% of the money and you put in 60, or either 60-40. He'd never do it all for Gwinnett County because we were the county that had the sales tax that was generating a lot of money. So that's one of the reasons, or one of the ways we got a lot of things done.
Fascinating, thank you. Wayne, you're considered to be a major funder of Gwinnett's 10,071 acres in 50 county-owned parks. Spend some time reflecting on that.
Well, when I went into office, I knew, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I knew Gwinnett County was going to grow. And we had 1,700 acres of parks in the green space. The first week I was in office, they were signing up for Little League ball, and I was told that they were camping out on the field in Duluth. So my wife and I get in the car, and I go down there and ride, and they were tents lined up and down. People were in line to get their kids in the Little League ball because we didn't have enough ball fields. So that struck a nerve with me. So my goal was to preserve as much of Gwinnett County as we could. When I got there, we had 1,700 acres of parks and green space. When I left, we had a little over 7,000 acres. That was very important to me to preserve as much of Gwinnett County as we could, and I think it worked out real good. One of the highlights, excuse me, I heard Lori mention Rotary, and we talk a lot about Rotary sometime. The Rotary in Rockdale County had built a field for handicapped children, solid surface. And I had a couple that went to church with me that had a handicapped child. And they said, will you let us come over and talk to you? And I said, well, sure, come on. I didn't have any idea what they was talking about. She says, we got 67 kids trying to play ball on gravel in wheelchairs and handicapped kids. Would you consider looking at a field like that in Gwinnett County? I said, there's no doubt I'll consider it. So when we built the Ozora Park down Ozora Road, we were able to put in one of those fields. And it's probably one of the most humbling and touching experiences I ever had. See those kids. So a lot of good things happen. Still chokes me up.
Thank you for that, Wayne. You've held multiple positions in several governmental organizations. Tell us about your leadership in the Atlanta Regional Commission, the Association of County Commissioners, and the National League of Counties.
Well, it ain't National League, but it's close, so. Anyway, I was able to rise. Well, let me back up. When I went to Atlanta Regional Commission, there were 9 new commission chairmen came in the day I was there. And I won't ever forget, I thought, well, I don't even know the question, must know much less the answer. But there's 9 other people in this room that don't either. And so I began to work with the Atlanta Regional Commission, wound up chair of the Atlanta Regional Commission. I went on to chair the National Association of Regional Councils, which was 230 different regional councils around the country. I got to travel all over the country with that. I also sat on the board with the Association of County Commissioners. I was president of that. And then I was on the board with the National Association of Counties. So I had the opportunity, I don't know how many can say this, but I've had the opportunity to be in every state in the United States. And I'm very proud of that fact that it let me go. Harry West was head of the Atlanta Regional Commission, and Harry took an interest in me. And he urged me to get on the board of the National Association of Regional Councils. And Harry's dead now, but one day I asked him, I said, why did you push me? He said, Wayne, I needed a leader. I said, well, you certainly picked the wrong guy. He said, no, I didn't have anybody else around that room, and I had to push you. So he pushed me into a lot of things I never would have been in. So I go back to, you got good people around you, it's probably smarter than you sometime. It pushes you in the right direction.
As I'm sitting here listening to Wayne, I'm peeking over at his notes that he has. So I just want to share this because I find it fascinating. So Wayne served as county commission chairman from 1990, let's see, that's not right. Yeah, 1993 to 2004, 12 years. So listen to this, what the county looked like back then from a roads perspective. Peachtree Industrial was still 2 lanes from Sugar Hill to Duluth. Ronald Reagan Parkway was not finished. There was no Sugarloaf. McGinnis Ferry Road built from Peachtree Industrial to Satellite. Extended Satellite from Swanee to Highway 20 in Beaufort, and paved 50 miles of dirt roads.
When I went to the county, George Black was transportation director. And growing up in the county and growing up using the outhouse, living on dirt roads, it was pretty important to me that we paved dirt roads. And so I asked George, I said, how many dirt roads have I got left in the county? He said, about 50 miles. I said, okay, I want to see how many of them we can get paved. 12 years later, whenever I left office, I asked the transportation department, how many dirt roads I got left? And they said, about 50 miles. I don't know, we paved dirt roads everywhere, but there's still a lot of dirt roads around the county. And some people didn't want you to pave their road. But we were spending more money on putting dust control on it than it would have cost to pave some of them. So it was pretty important to me that we did that. When we did Peachtree Industrial, and there wasn't a Peachtree Industrial when I grew up, my dad actually signed a little something when we lived there in Sugar Hill while I was still in high school to start PIB. But we wound up from Sugar Hill to Duluth. It was still a 2-lane. And again, Mr. Shackleford called me one day. He says, I'll help you finish 4-lane in that if you'll condemn those properties. I said, how many? He said, 52. One sloop, we condemned 52 properties. They wasn't big, but we condemned 52, and that's the way we finished building Peachtree Industrial.
So it's the Christmas season, the holiday season, and as much as I would love to be a Scrooge and keep him all to myself, I know that lots of you probably have some questions for Wayne. So Beth is approaching with the microphone.
I always wanted to ask this question. Tell us about the airport, Briscoe Field, and all the shenanigans that at least I saw from the media. Never had a chance to ask you about that, of what took place with the blocking of extending it and making it a commercial airline hub.
That was the biggest crowd we ever had the night that we were going to put extend the runway, put commercial flights into Gwinnett County. I always had a little problem with it simply because if you look at the way it lays, hospital laid nearly off of one end of it, and off of the other end was Rabbit Hill Park. And so you'd be affecting two things that was in the county. Now, I flew a small plane for 39 years, so I knew a little bit about the airport. And I watched them in Athens when they had commercial, and they had a cross runway over there that they could really use, which we didn't. But the only place you could go was to Charlotte or Atlanta. And that's what I was afraid, if you ever put it in Gwinnett County, the only place you could go would be to Charlotte or Atlanta. Now, the night that we were going to vote on that, Tommy Hughes, Judy Waters, and another one says, we're going to make this airport happen in Gwinnett County. And I said, well, I'm going to vote against it. Everybody's got to vote their conscience on this thing, and I'm going to vote against it. At 10 to 7, I was on the phone with Delta Airlines. They were saying, it's not big enough, you can't get your planes in. And I agreed. Anyway, we had our fire department, police department running around. There were people on 3 floors in our building out there screaming and hollering. I have never seen as big a crowd as that I'd had that night. So when the vote came up, I called for the vote. The vote was 5-0 against expanding it. So we get back on the elevator and go back up to our office, and I look at Tom and Judy. I said, what happened to y'all? I thought y'all was going to make this happen. I said, Wayne, them people would have killed us tonight. So that's the way it came down that night. They were going to make it happen, but they were smart enough to know they were about to get killed, I reckon. But we also dealt with some of that up in Jackson County when they talked about the second airport for the Atlanta region. And that's when I was at ARC. And we had our space actually preserved up there for a second airport. But the day we were going to do that, people came out of Jackson County, and we were over off of 75 in our building, and people were lined all the way around that building, and as many as could get in it that didn't want another airport. So we probably stuck with what we got. One of the biggest things, I think, that we ever made a mistake on is the second outer perimeter. I was very much in favor of that. I pushed it hard. I think it's one of the biggest mistakes that the state of Georgia ever made is not doing that, but it is what it is.
I think we've got time for one more question. Anybody?
Mr. Hill, thank you for being here this morning. You have a long history in Gwinnett County, so I trust your vision. I would just ask you if there was one thing that concerned you about the coming quality of life in Gwinnett County, what would that be?
Well, I guess it would be crime. I think we as a society have come full circle some way or another. People have no life doesn't matter to a lot of them. Life matters to me. Life matters to my grandkids. And I think we've got to get back to where we care about one another. It's kind of like I said, somebody let me out of my driveway this morning. We got to get where we're courteous again. Now, I grew up where we were courteous. We're not courteous anymore. Coming down here this morning, there were cars shooting around me, and I thought, where in the world y'all going? You're going to run over me. But we got to get back to that, so I guess that's the biggest thing that really concerns me. I'm going to mention one other thing, a little piece of history. I got a map here, it's an old Georgia map. If you ever get the opportunity, I can't see it this morning, I think it's a 1821 map. Go Google old maps and look at it. Anybody know where the Flint River starts? Starts on the Atlanta airport. If you'll Google this map, This map shows where the Cherokees and the Creek Indians come together. That was all the way to where Gwinnett County was. At one time, the Atlanta airport was in Gwinnett County, or it could have been. Always interesting to share a little history. Thank y'all for letting me be here.
Well, I don't know about everyone else, but I can certainly say I've learned a few things today. So thank you so much. I can't imagine how Gwinnett County would have happened without having you as the one to start it all. So thank you for all that you've done. Thank you for the work that you've poured into this place that we call home. It wouldn't be the same without you. So thank you very much. And on behalf of the Southwest Gwinnett Chamber, we have a few chocolates for you that we hope that you'll enjoy over the holidays. Wendy, thank you so much for all that you've done. I had a question about the infrastructure bill with water that just came out last night, but I'm going to ask you that later. That's kind of a loaded question, I think. But I want to share with you all the couple of things coming up. So I appreciate everyone being here this morning. It's been a great morning with having legendary Wayne Hill here, and who else but Santa himself, who is a Gwinnetian, right? Yes. But we're not done. There is more. So coming up in January, you will definitely not want to miss Phil Bonelli. He is an incredible, inspirational, motivational speaker, and he's going to start our year off right. So please make sure that you come to that. Invite your friends. As a business owner, this is something that you will definitely want to attend, and you will want your staff to attend as well. It'll be great. And with that, I think I just want to say happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, and Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you for being here.